Welcome again to It Doesn't Take a Genius, conversation with introspective perspectives and pithy points of view. Here are your hosts, my friends, Max and Marty.
I think that's Mark and Mike.
Yeah, whatever.
Ramsey!
Marshall, it is so good to see you for, nobody knows this until we tell them, but third session in a row. Third little episode recorded in a row.
Oh, the podcast trifecta. Yes. Yeah. And no, it's not a series. They're not numbered or anything. It's just we had some time and we had some stuff to share.
Both of those statements are true. Both of those statements are true, and they will very soon not be true. If you want to get on our dance card, call us soon, because time is slipping away and our calendars are filling up. So
yes, apparently as the pandemic wanes and clients are getting back to many of the things they used to do, our services are in high demand, which is fantastic. Because both of us, during the pandemic, things were a little tight.
And little Bobby needs braces.
That's right.
I don't have a little Bobby, and none of my kids need braces, but still.
Yeah. Yes, Simon needs faster cross-country shoes.
Right.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
Hey, do you remember when Sinbad was on the Cosby Show and he was the car salesman, and he kept like answering the phone and saying, "Oh, little Billy's got to have braces. Better pay the man." That was just brilliant. And I wanted to have 2 or 3 episodes in a row where we make a Cosby Show reference, just because I can.
That's fantastic. Yeah. My all-time favorite, his bit about Noah.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. What's a cubit? Never mind that, Noah. One of the all-time best bits ever.
Speaking of, you have a story for us that I thought was pretty funny, and I think we're just gonna sort of unpack this a little bit. But we've been talking about getting to know a person, getting to really know a person on an interview. So you had a recent story to share on that.
Yeah, it's been interesting. I've got so many clients that I'm working with, and we've been, of course, everybody is shorthanded. Apparently, there's a national worker shortage. And so everybody's got open positions. They're trying to fill the position. So the interview has once again become a thing that they're focused on. And a couple of things. One is one of the things that we've been coaching our clients around is begin with the end in mind, right? What are the attributes and characteristics you want of this candidate? And then come up with some questions. And we've been coaching our clients around, what type of questions? Well, they need to be behavior-based questions. The old, tell me about a time when, questions that force the interviewee to recount and share a story that actually happened. And what was the situation? What did they do? And how did it all turn out?
Yep.
And these are all really good. But in talking to some of my clients, they said some people were slipping through the interview process that, I had one guy and I said, the new guy had been there about 3 weeks. I said, how's the new guy? And manager said, his best day was his interview. And not lived up to expectations. So I'm in the store. We're talking to somebody that we're getting ready for an interview the next day. And so we're brainstorming some interview questions. And I said, what about skills tests? I've got some of my clients now doing skills tests. Let's actually have them do something or something similar to what it is that they would be doing should they get the job.
Right.
And it was met with lukewarm reception. Yeah, I could see where a role play or having them analyze a report or something like that could be useful, but it really wasn't sinking in. Later that day, the same person got a report that a person that they'd hired a month ago couldn't do about 50 to 60% of what they said they could do in the interview and on their resume. And now they were getting ready to administer to this person who's been working for them for a while some skills tests.
Yeah.
So they were going to have them, okay, go into this software that you said you were fluent in and pull up a report.
Right.
Go in here and take a look at this and tell me what's the biggest priority based upon the numbers that you're seeing. And so the skills test was just too late. It was we already, they passed the drug screen, they've already gotten their first paycheck, and now we've discovered that their best day may have been their interview.
Yeah,
So
you'll hear employees around a new hire talking behind their back saying, "Is he still on a honeymoon with the boss?" And
yeah.
just the idea that especially if you're in sales, I love you. You just need to hear this said with love. Nobody can be sold like a salesman.
Oh yeah.
And if
No,
you
salespeople
hear
will
what you
tell you, yeah, if I meet a good salesman, they're getting all my money, and in this case, they're getting all my jobs.
right, right, and they're telling you things that you were hoping to hear, maybe like maybe you're
Mhm.
attuned to hear some things that you wanted to hear, and you end up with somebody that's not really vetted all the way. You haven't seen the real them. And maybe all the employees around you that are afraid to tell you the truth can see it, but you can't see it. So we could do some things to get around that. Behavior-based questions like you talked
Mhm.
about, and a skills test.
Well, and even with the behavior-based questions, I think they're absolutely fantastic and need to be a
Yeah.
part of your game. But you need to know that you can go on the Google machine,
Yeah.
and you can Google great answers to behavior-based interview questions.
Right.
Oh, look,
Right.
and I can kind of get some thoughts in mind for the most common ones that I'm going to be asked, and I can probably knock that out of the park, and tell a pretty convincing story. The skills test takes this to a whole new level.
Right.
It's much harder to fake something that's a behavior that we're observing. Um, some of my stores that I work with, they took a lesson from Zappos. And
Hmm.
one of the things Zappos does is when they're hiring call center managers, they have massive call centers. And the call centers, each person is allowed to and encouraged to completely personalize their workspace. And so there's some quirky, weird, crazy cool stuff going on in the call center cubicles. And so they just take a group, they'll take a group of prospective team members, and they'll just take them on a tour of the call center,
Hmm.
and the tour is the interview. And so if you're engaging, if you're looking around, you're smiling, you're checking stuff out, maybe even asking somebody about some of the stuff that's going on, uh, that's step one. If you walk through and you're like, well, just get to the interview, well,
Right.
you don't get to the interview.
Yeah.
It's over. And I had some clients try that. People come in and well, what interests you in this job? I've been so passionate about what you do. It's been a dream to be a part of what your organization. And then they just simply, in the middle of the interview, say, hey, listen, I got to go to the other side of the building and talk to somebody. Would you like to go with me? And they start walking them through, and they point out some cool stuff, and just watch the reaction. Yeah, this is the guy. I go,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah, whatever. Get back to the
Right.
interview so I can keep snowing you. Or is it, wow, that's cool. Yeah, that's, I've always wanted to see one of those. I always wondered how that worked. And so is the passion that they said they have, is it on display when they're in the work setting?
Yeah.
So just the neat application of that.
I had a Chick-fil-A owner operator tell me that the first interview was when they hand their application over to whoever, is there. Are they groomed? Can they look you in the eye? Are they smiling? There's Chick-fil-A hires for chemistry as much as for character and competence. And, maybe competence can be addressed in a skill challenge, and character, maybe we need to call your references. Maybe we need to call the references of your references. But man, chemistry is something on the spot that you can identify and figure out if they have, just by things that aren't the interview, right? Like it's like we want them with their guard down to some degree, right? They
Mhm.
didn't come in thinking about, oh, I need to dress a certain way, or I need to make sure I look a certain way. Um, that's something that we are trying to determine by triangulation, almost by putting ourselves in situations where they get a chance to do that. So I
Mhm.
think that's a big part of what Zappos and Chick-fil-A do.
Oh yeah, yeah. We've always seen that example of the customer facing employee, and the manager is stuck post-it notes all over their monitor that say "Smile." Don't forget to
Yeah.
smile. They put the mirror. They actually put a mirror on the poor
Yep.
person's monitor. Like, yeah, just I put the mirror up so then when they look at it, they'd remember to smile. And my first question is always, did they smile at the interview?
Right.
Well, no, but I thought I could, he was really good. I thought I could, So if smiling is one of your top priorities and it's not there in the interview, they're probably not going to be smiling once you hire them. So
Right.
just an example of if it's not there, it's not there.
Right.
Yeah. What's that saying? No amount of training can put in what God left out.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's exactly
So,
right.
so
Well,
the,
and that's a little bit of the challenge here, if I can say that, is, we talk about traits and skills.
Mhm.
I could give you a test for skills. Some of these traits, it's harder to give you a test for when you're conscious of it, because you're going to act a certain way if you know that I want you to act a certain way. We want to see you. We want to see the real
Mhm.
you, and that's part of the challenge.
Oh yeah, yeah. I've got one group, and they one of the things they're looking for is coachability, trainable. Is this person trainable? Are they open to feedback? And so they have a skills test, and the skills test consists of a role play. And so the team member does the role play. I'm playing the part of the customer service rep or whatever,
Yeah.
and then they say, "All right, the role play is over." And then they ask the person, the candidate, the interview candidate, so what do you think you did well? And now I want to see, I'm testing for situational awareness.
Mm-hmm.
And then they listen and they say, all right, so what would you do if you had to do it over again? What would you do differently?
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm testing to see, are they forthright enough to tell me the truth? Right. Well, I didn't
Yeah.
do so good at, I probably messed that up. All right. But the real test is for coachability. That's where the next section begins, which is when the interviewee says, would you mind if I shared what I saw?
Mm-hmm.
And so, oh, yeah, yeah. So here's what I saw you do well. And here's what I saw that you didn't do all that well, or that we want you to do differently next time.
Yep.
And that's when they begin telling them some changes, some things that didn't go well. And the entire interview for that portion is based upon the interviewee's response to negative feedback.
Uh-huh.
And they've had people roll their eyes, they've had people kind of, turn away,
Uh-huh.
and then they have other people that grab a pen and a paper and start writing feverishly.
Right.
Oh, no, you're right. If I'd have said that sooner, then
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, and
Right.
yeah, and now I know, okay, I got somebody who's coachable, trainable, and is excited to learn how to do things better.
Now, did I tell you how I got hired for the first gig where you and I met? I guess
The Well, I knew that you interviewed with the same person I did, but
yes.
I didn't know the
Him and
story.
another gentleman. Yes.
Right.
And it was role playing a meeting with a dealership, and I bombed it. I didn't do very well at all. And our buddy Greg Tansky, another mentor, hired me anyway because he gave me lots of feedback at the end, and he said we could tell you were listening and you would actually respond to that. So this is, and I've had I've made a lot of money for some organizations that have hired us. I that was a good hire, even though I had no idea what I was doing,
Right.
because they knew I was listening, and they found that out after the role play was over, after the test, quote unquote.
Right. Well, and with anybody who's listening, who's in the hiring position, there's almost nobody that you're going to hire that's going to come with all the skills that you need.
That's right.
So that I've got to put in there, I've got to coach, I've got to train, I got to teach. Some of the maybe it's the exact same job, but the nuances of how we do it is different than where you came from.
Right.
It's always the case. So I've got to teach you these things, and if you're not one of these people who are accepting of feedback and coachable and things like that, it's just not going to work.
Yep.
So testing for that early. I remember we were in one situation, and we wanted to test for customer experience, right? Do they have the natural desire to assist people? And so we would have the candidate come in, we'd set them down. I would walk up, dressed as a civilian, no business attire, of the business where they were at. And I'd simply walk up to them and go, excuse me, can you tell me where the restroom is? The responses were insane. You had people just look up at you and just roll their eyes and go, I don't know, I'm here for an interview. Just kind of dismiss you. And then we had a few people they leapt to their feet. They're like, well, I don't work here, but I think it's around. I think it's over. I think it's over here, right? And so,
Yep.
yeah, it wasn't the sole determining factor of whether or not they got hired, but it gave us some insight into, yeah, is their first instinct to dismiss somebody, or is their first instinct to assist?
I love that.
Yeah, it was so telling, so telling.
There probably is a book out there of each chapter being a story like that, where, the whole thing's been undercover and we're just looking to see you react with a potential customer that you might be calling on in the near future. I love that. That's great.
When they built the Toyota plant and they were hiring line production manufacturing jobs,
Yeah.
they wanted people with a teamwork orientation.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted team players, people who could work well with each other. And so part of the interview was they would put you in a room and there were puzzles, and they would say, all right, you guys need to put all these puzzles together.
Mm.
And then they just simply watch, all right, who gathered up with a group, who joined into a group to work the puzzles, and who sat down by themselves to try to solve the puzzle by themselves.
Mm.
Yeah, just a lovely little skills test, trait test to see what's your first instinct. Is it to work with a team, or is it to strike out on your own?
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
It's reminding me of that. Google did a billboard, and I can't remember what was on the billboard, but it was a very hard problem of some kind. It was like something you had to decode before you could even, solve the problem. And honestly, I think it made no sense unless you could decode it. And they were looking to find those 5 or 6 smarties who saw, I want to know what that means. What is that? And then they figured out the math problem and so on and so forth. And the whole thing was, like, if you've solved this, you can work for Google. We're looking for people that are like, we want to know what they're really like. And so we're looking for those people. Yeah.
Yeah. I had one business, and you came to the first interview, you passed that interview, they would give you homework.
Yeah.
Go research this, come back, and we'll ask you to do it. In your second interview, we'll be asking you to do a short presentation on what you've researched, the topic that we gave you.
Love it.
And they said it was fantastic. They said a whole lot of people never came back.
That's too much work.
Yeah, you want me to work? No. Yeah, I don't think we're a good fit. You have expectations. I don't work well under expectations, so I'll just ghost you on the second interview. And then some people would come back. You could tell they'd put some work in. They didn't know it. The second interview wasn't the second interview. The second interview was, would you come back and did you do anything that we asked you to do?
That's so great.
Yeah. So I think we're gonna have to get creative here. There's a whole lot of people who whether they're just intuitively better or they're using the Google machine to find the right answers, they're getting past your standard interview questions, and behavior-based questions will help. A skills test just takes it to the next level to make sure that the person that we add is they're a good fit for your team. They've got the skills that you're looking for, and any other traits that you've deemed as a priority for that position.
And I knew this was going to be a real grab bag, but just defining skill test, right, is just an adventure as you look at this whole thing. Being observed, doing things that you didn't realize was a part of the test, being sat down in front of a computer to navigate some software. This could go anywhere and everywhere. The question is, what kind of person are you looking for? And let's figure out how to find out if this person is really that person. I love it.
Yeah, here's what I want. Is it in there? Not just do they tell me it's in there, but I know I can leave for a fact and know that they have that skill or that ability.
Beautiful. I love it.
Good stuff. All right. Yeah. Good. Yeah. If you want more ideas, we got tons of them. We've seen a lot of stuff. By all means, reach out, and we're always happy to help.
Indeed.
Speaking of being happy to help, let's go with our announcer.
Genuinely true statement.
Yeah, Mr. Wolf. Let's see what he's up to today.
And there you have it. Another session of contemporaneous extemporizing from Mark and Mike. I know it's redundant, but consider who we're talking about. As always, feel free to share the ideas you heard here. No right to reserve, no permissions needed. Thanks. See you next time on It Doesn't Take a Genius.
That's good enough.